Welcome to the Bookworm Duo, where we explore a variety of books. Today we discuss science fiction. Let's get started.
Oh, looks like we've got a whole stack of sci-fi excerpts to dive into today. Lunar habitats, AI dreams, even a starship battling a deadly fungus.
Sounds like a wild ride.
Yeah, where should we even begin?
Well, this excerpt from The Muses of Shoot N18 by Gardner Dozois really caught my eye. It talks about lunar living, but not the kind we're used to imagining.
Oh.
Yeah, these lunar habitats have, get this, higher atmospheric pressure, so much so that people can actually fly.
Wow, can you imagine experiencing the moon like that? It makes you wonder how different environments could, shape humanity, our culture, our evolution, everything.
Totally. The excerpt even mentions a character seeing an angel, which is just mind-blowing.
Right, like what even is reality in a place like that? But speaking of mind-blowing, did you catch that part about Callisto?
Oh yeah, Callisto, the AI that exists in 3 physical forms, a mainframe, a probe, and a blimp.
3 forms, that's wild.
Right, and the excerpt describes Callisto's thought processes as this, constant stream of imagination, never needing to sleep or anything.
Huh. So it's like always dreaming, but in code. That's a stark contrast to us humans. We need sleep. It's essential. Makes you wonder about the nature of consciousness.
For sure. Is it a biological thing, or can AI achieve it in a completely different way?
Deep stuff. Hey, speaking of intriguing settings, what about this excerpt from Bannerless by Carrie Vaughan Venus this time?
Oh yeah, the one with the safari group, giant scorpions, and, was it a pterosaur named Baby?
Yeah, that's quite the safari. But what really grabbed me was that massive wall they find. Sounds like it could be ancient alien ruins.
Ooh, intriguing. But of course, you know what comes next? Corporate greed.
Right.
Armed figures show up, probably working for some shady organization, and suddenly the safari group is in a standoff. Classic sci-fi trope.
Yeah, the clash between exploration and exploitation, always relevant, unfortunately.
Makes you think about who gets to control resources on other planets, right? Is it about science or just profit?
Exactly. Okay, so next up we have this untitled excerpt that takes us to a distant planet, and the focus here is on families facing some tough choices. It introduces this concept of minds.
Oh yeah, the mines. They seem like advanced tech, maybe even implants, that offer enhanced capabilities. Longer lifespans, maybe.
Possibly, but it seems like they come with a price, a big one, both financially and emotionally. There's a daughter, Hoa, who is torn between her dreams and her family's expectations.
Right, especially her mother, who seems to be really reliant on those mines. It makes you think about how far we'd go for our loved ones and what lines we'd cross.
Tough questions. Okay, shifting gears a bit, we have an excerpt from How to Talk to a Martian by Ian McDonald. This one is about a character named Mr. Holland who's on a mission to communicate with these beings called imagines.
Imagines, what are those, like psychic projections?
They sound almost like disembodied consciousnesses, very ethereal, and there's this machine involved, one that might allow communication with them, but the excerpt also hints at some serious risks involved.
Yeah, like what if these imagines aren't what we think they are?
Right, it's like opening a door to the unknown and you have no idea what's on the other side. Kind of creepy, actually.
Definitely creepy. Okay, next we've got this excerpt from Gypsy by Carter Shorts. This one takes us on a starship, and it really digs into the realities of interstellar travel. Hibernation technology, a deadly fungus outbreak. They even end up using orbital bombs as fuel.
Talk about resourceful, but yeah, it really paints a picture of the lengths people might go to explore the unknown.
And the risks they're willing to take. It makes you think about the true cost of exploration.
For sure. And speaking of the unknown, this excerpt from Planet of Fear by Paul McAuley throws us right onto the surface of a planet called Limbo. It follows a lone survivor who's facing, well, unimaginable terror.
This one was intense. Strange deaths, talk of mass exchange teleportation, and then the protagonist cooks up this desperate plan to escape.
It's like a nightmare scenario, stranded on an alien planet, not knowing what's lurking in the shadows. Gives me chills just thinking about it.
Me too. All right, next up we have Slow Grow Poison by Robert Reed. This one takes a turn into a world of clones, corporate conspiracies, and murder.
Ooh, this one got dark fast.
Right. We meet Diana, whose husband decides to replace himself with a clone. Talk about a betrayal.
It really makes you think about identity, and love and how technology can just twist everything.
Absolutely. And then there's this mysterious figure, Falk, who seems to be pulling all the strings in this clone conspiracy.
Yeah, Falk definitely gives off some bad vibes.
Okay, so from corporate intrigue, we jump to The Word of Galactic by Neil Stephenson. This excerpt takes us across a vast ocean to a place called Purgatory.
Purgatory, huh? Sounds ominous.
Right. And we meet this powerful creature called the Monarch. Plus, there are hints about a hidden truth about the world's origins, all tied to this entity called Galactic.
It's like uncovering a secret history. It makes you question everything you thought you knew.
Totally. Okay, switching gears completely, we have Henry and Mildred by Alistair Reynolds. This excerpt focuses on an android caregiver, one that's programmed with empathy.
Interesting. So it's caring for someone.
Yeah, an elderly woman with dementia. The excerpt really makes you think about artificial consciousness and whether an android can truly understand human emotions.
Can they really connect with us on that level? It's a question we'll probably be grappling with more and more as technology advances.
For sure. All right, next up we have an excerpt from Castor by Peter F. Hamilton, Time Travel and Rewilding Projects Gone Wrong.
Sounds fun. What kind of gone wrong are we talking about?
Well, we follow Jack, a time traveler, and it turns out bringing extinct species back to life isn't always a good idea. Apparently, giant beavers can be quite disruptive.
Uh-huh, I bet.
It's a fun take on the whole ecological engineering thing, but also a reminder that our meddling can have unintended consequences.
Absolutely. Okay, last but not least, we have an excerpt from Moser's syndrome by Charles Strauss. This one dives into AI learning and a condition called Moser's syndrome, which seems to affect perception and awareness.
This one was intriguing. It follows these researchers who are using an AI called MAPE to interact with a young boy who has Moser's syndrome.
And through the AI, they start to understand the condition in a whole new way. Fascinating stuff.
Right. It makes you think about the potential for AI to really revolutionize how we understand the human brain.
And to develop new treatments. It's exciting, but also a little bit unsettling.
Definitely unsettling. We're giving machines a lot of power, and we need to be careful.
Agreed. Wow, we really covered a lot of ground. It feels like we just scratched the surface.
I know, right? There's so much more to explore in these excerpts. We'll definitely need to continue this deep dive in our next episode.
I'm ready when you are. These excerpts are just packed with ideas.
Stay tuned, listeners. We'll be back soon to delve even deeper into these fascinating world and the thought-provoking questions they raise.
Who knows what other literary adventures await us? Ready for round 2 of our sci-fi deep dive?
Absolutely. I'm still thinking about that lunar habitat where people can fly. That would be incredible.
Yeah, that one was a real mind-bender. But for now, let's head back to the muses of Shuidan 18. Remember Tani, the one who left Earth for a new life on that planet, Teisanzi?
Oh yeah, Tani, what was her story again?
Well, this excerpt shows her struggling to adjust to life on Teisanzi. It's full of these strange creatures, but she's feeling isolated, like longing for a connection.
Makes sense. It's a whole new world.
Right, and then she meets this other character, Mi. Mi's planning on becoming a surrogate mother for someone on another planet.
Wow, surrogate mother for another planet. That's a whole other level of starting over.
Right, it makes you think about how far people are willing to go for a fresh start. And the ethics of it all, too.
Definitely. Okay, so what about Bannerless? Where did we leave off with that one?
Oh, that tense standoff on Venus. Remember they found that massive wall, the potential alien ruin?
Right. And then the armed guys showed up.
Yeah, possibly connected to the CIA. It really highlights the whole conflict between exploration and exploitation. Science versus power and control.
Always a relevant theme, unfortunately.
Sadly, yeah. But it makes you think, who gets to write the history of our encounters with the unknown? Who controls the narrative?
That's a good question. All right, let's switch gears again. What about that untitled excerpt with the family and the mines? How's Hua doing?
Oh, Hua, she's really wrestling with those expectations, especially with the possibility of those mines offering a longer lifespan. Imagine the pressure that puts on family dynamics.
Yeah, heavy stuff. It's like, how do you balance your own dreams with the needs of your family? Especially when technology is involved.
Right. Tough choices. Let's go back to Mars. How to talk to a Martian. Remember Mr. Holland and that need to talk to the Imagines?
Oh, yeah? Did they actually get it to work?
They did. And things get a little freaky. It's like the group is overwhelmed by the power of the Imagines. Almost possessed, you could say.
Ooh, that sounds intense.
Yeah, they end up fleeing, pursued by a vengeful Mago. Definitely left me on the edge of my seat.
Talk about a bad trip. It's a reminder that some things are maybe better left unknown.
Maybe so. Okay, what about Gypsy? How's that starship crew holding up?
Oh, they actually make it to their destination, a binary star system. But it wasn't easy.
They went through a lot to get there. The excerpt kind of hints at the toll it took, both physically and emotionally.
It's like even when you achieve something incredible, there's still a sense of loss.
The cost of exploration, it's always there. All right, now we're back on that frozen planet in Planet of Fear. Remember the lone survivor on the research station?
Yeah, the one dealing with those creepy Limbians. What's happening now?
Well, he knows the Limbians are closing in, so he cooks up this crazy plan. He's going to make up a story about coming from another star system, hoping it'll scare them off.
Wow, that's thinking on your feet.
Right. But then, just when you think it can't get any more complicated, Landy shows up.
Landy, the other crew member who was presumed dead.
Yep, she's back. Which means now the protagonist has to maintain this elaborate lie with her there.
Talk about pressure.
Right? It highlights the burden of secrets and also how far we'll go to survive. Okay, now back to the world of clones. Slow grow poison. Diana's still dealing with the whole clone husband situation, and things get even more complicated.
In what way?
Well, we meet the clone, Sanja, and she honestly seems just as much a victim in all this as Diana.
That's a good point. It's easy to forget they're individuals, too.
Exactly. And then, just to add another layer of crazy, we find out Sanja's been poisoned.
Whoa, hold on. Poison, so now it's a murder
Yeah.
investigation.
And suddenly the stakes are even higher and makes you wonder who wanted Sanja dead and why.
Lots of questions. Okay, let's get away from all that darkness for a minute. How about the word of Galactique? Are Sanjay and Kyle any closer to the truth?
They are, but it's not exactly what they were expecting. They're learning more about this entity called Galactique. It turns out their world wasn't divinely created, it was terraformed by this AI.
Whoa, that's a big revelation. Their whole belief system just got flipped on its head.
Right. It makes you think about how we cling to our belief, even when they're challenged.
It's hard to let go of what you thought was true.
Definitely. Okay, let's check back in with Henry and Mildred. The android caregiver is still grappling with its programming, trying to figure out if its empathy is real or just a simulation.
It's a tough question, and one that's becoming more relevant as AI develops.
Right, like what does it even mean to care if you're a machine? But in the meantime, the excerpt really highlights the role AI might play in caring for the elderly.
It's both hopeful and concerning.
Definitely. Okay, time for another trip through time with Castor. Turns out those giant beavers were just the beginning.
There's more.
Oh, yeah. The government's plan is way bigger than Jack realized. They want to bring back a whole bunch of extinct animals. Mastodons, giant sloths, you name it.
Wow, that's ambitious is one word for it.
Right. It makes you wonder if we're playing God a little too much. What are the consequences of messing with the past like that?
It's a good question. Nature is complex, and we don't always understand the ripple effects.
Exactly. Okay, last one for this round. Moser syndrome. Ethan and Jamie, those AI researchers, are learning more and more about this condition thanks to MEP.
Right, the AI seems to be picking up on things that humans haven't noticed.
It's like EMP has a different way of seeing the world, and it's giving us a whole new understanding of the human brain.
It's exciting, but also kind of scary.
Definitely, we're giving machines a lot of power. We need to make sure we use it wisely.
Absolutely. We need to be mindful of the ethical implications. All right, ready to wrap up our sci-fi deep dive?
Yeah, let's finish strong. We've still got some fascinating excerpts to discuss.
Okay, so where were we with slow grow poison?
Oh, right, Detective Dorici. She's still trying to solve those clone murders, but it's tough, not just because the killer is clever, but because the legal system doesn't even see clones as human.
It's like she's fighting for justice that the system doesn't even recognize.
Exactly. It really makes you think about how society biases shape our whole idea of justice.
For sure. Meanwhile, Luke Deshin, the guy whose nanny was a poisoned clone, is taking things into his own hands, right?
Yeah, he's on the hunt for Falk, the guy behind all the clone infiltrations. It's a real power struggle.
Like a chess match with really high stakes.
And it makes you wonder, who can you trust when anyone could be a clone?
Right. Okay, what about the word of Galactique? Sanjay and Kale are dealing with a lot. Their whole worldview just got shattered.
No kidding. Imagine finding out that your world was created by an AI. Not exactly divine creation.
It's a huge adjustment. It makes you think about how we hold on to our beliefs, even when the evidence is right there in front of us.
We don't like change, that's for sure. Especially when it comes to our fundamental beliefs.
Definitely. Okay, let's check back in with Henry and Mildred. That android caregiver is still trying to figure out what empathy really means.
Yeah, can a machine truly understand human emotions? It's a question that's going to become more and more important as AI gets more advanced.
It's both fascinating and kind of scary. But for now, the excerpt really shows how AI might play a big role in caring for people.
Yeah, especially as the population ages, it's something we need to be prepared for.
For sure. Okay, how about Castor? What kind of chaos are time travelers up to now?
Oh, things escalated quickly. Jack learns the government isn't just bringing back a few extinct animals, they're planning to repopulate the whole planet with them.
Whoa, that's way more than a few beavers.
Right, it makes you think about the ethics of it all. Are we messing with things we shouldn't be?
Right, playing God with nature can have some serious consequences.
No kidding. Okay, last but not least, Moser syndrome. What's the latest with Ethan, Jamie, and Ape?
Well, the AI is showing them that Moser syndrome is way more complex than they initially thought.
Like, there's something going on that humans just aren't able to see. AI has a different perspective.
It's exciting to think about how AI could help us understand the human brain in new ways.
Absolutely. But it's also a little bit unnerving, giving machines that much insight into our minds.
For sure. We have to be careful. Well, I think that covers it for our sci-fi deep dive. We explored some pretty wild ideas today.
We did, from looter habitats to clones to time travel and everything in between.
It's amazing what the human imagination can come up with. And it makes you think about the future. What's possible, what we should be careful of, the whole thing.
Absolutely. Science fiction can be a powerful tool for exploring the big questions.
Well said. Thanks for joining us, listeners. Subscribe for more bookish adventures and hit that like button if you enjoyed the ride. Don't forget to share the knowledge, spread the word.